Good to see you.
Good to see you, and thank you for having me here.
It's an honor to be on.
And Chris,
Yeah, it's an honor to be on virtual stage with you. You look beautiful, by the way. All right, so tons of questions for you, but I thought we would start off with a softie, which is, what's your favorite Hershey's brand?
hey, that's a tough one. I will. I love everything. I am a chocolatier, and I would be partial to each one of them on a different occasion. I'd say like Hershey's is an ubiquitous favorite for everybody. Kisses is my favorite for festivals. And Reese's, hey, who can say no to Reese's cup? And Kit Kat for breakfast, right? So occasions, different moments. And you'd be surprised to know we also have a portfolio of brands of better for you, like Skinny Pop and One Brands for the afternoon.
Wow. I'll have you know that my daughter thinks I'm currently talking to the person who invented chocolate. So thank you for making me her personal hero. Yeah, it was a pretty funny conversation this morning. What is your role today at Hershey's?
Yeah, so as the CMO of the international group, I am responsible for insights, marketing, innovation, and e-commerce for all markets outside the US. So it's pretty much our priority markets are Canada, Mexico, India, Brazil, to name a few, but we market in 90 countries.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm fortunate to have a great team leading all aspects of the business and to drive growth.
It's a tall order. I have talked to a lot of people who have tuned in today, and everyone's thinking about digital transformation. So who better to talk to than you about it? But before we dive into that, I was wondering if we could define the way you see the world when it comes to digital transformation. What is it?
Yeah. In my opinion, digital transformation, I call it as the integration of technologies into everyday business processes so that we can enhance stakeholder experiences, whether it be the consumer, customer, or our internal employees. I segment in two ways, externally and internally. At the end of the day, digital transformation has to serve a purpose, and that is to deliver a seamless and a delightful experience for the consumer anytime, every time, through across channels. And internally, it is about leveraging data that we get from our customers, whether it be from our supply chain partners or our supplier partners, to enable smart decision making with speed and agility.
That was great. Done. Is this a destination? How do you know when you've accomplished that?
It's a journey. I'd say, we've been dabbling about, everybody has been talking about digital transformation for a while, and you never stop. It's not a project, right? It's not a one-off, done-off, check the box kind of thing. It is a journey that is fast-paced and very iterative. And if you say like, when do you know when you've arrived, kind of a thing, I would say that there are two things to consider. One is, are we lock in step with the consumer? Meaning, do we have real-time insights? Are we engaging with them real time so that we can deliver personalized messaging? Are we delivering real time their needs in terms of what they want to purchase at the channel of their choice? And the consumers will tell us whether we are there or not. And we will hear from them. So that's from an external perspective. But going back to the internal perspective that I mentioned earlier, it's whether we have institutionalized and embedded processes, agile processes that allow our teams to be able to constantly test and learn new tools so that there is an evergreen pipeline of experiences, of ideas, of tools that we can deliver to the consumer. Again, it's not a one project, it's a journey. And that process, that agile process, need to be embedded in the organization. And once that happens, then that is success.
Can you remember a time before digital transformation? Meaning, in other words, is it something that the whole organization has to be invested in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of my tips and must-haves. Digital transformation has to be prioritized from the top, and which we are doing at Hershey. And I'm fortunate to have an executive team who is constantly learning and who is prioritizing and making sure that it's visible across the organization, right? And repetition is also powerful, making sure that strategy, that intent of digital transformation needs to be communicated, cascaded, and have clear goals with it. And everybody needs to be held accountable for it. It's not an IT job. It's not a marketer's job. It's not a one person's job. It's a team effort, and everybody needs to have the shared goals to deliver that. And that's only when we can make it happen.
That makes a lot of sense. If someone's listening right now and they're thinking, yeah, that would be nice, but where do I even begin? This seems like a huge, complex undertaking from start to finish, where every strategy touches this transformation, because like you said, it's iterative, it never ends. How do you begin?
Yeah, and it all begins with the strategy and vision, as I mentioned earlier, right? Look externally. Look externally to your consumer, to our retail partners, and to co-create that strategy and vision, and make sure that it is prioritized. Once we have that clear strategy and vision, then partner externally. There are plenty of suppliers out there who have expertise in their respective functional area, and there are plenty of tools that are nimble and cost effective. And I strongly recommend to leverage those suppliers and create an ecosystem of marketing technologies that allow us to enable the experience through that consumer journey. And it may not be a one solution that fits everything or serves all needs. You may need multiple tools, and breaking it apart is a good technique to start small and test and learn and iterate with those tools. And you may want to test with one project and then get that win. And that way you get those wins and you learn from it, and you can progress with speed.
I like what you're saying about it coming from the top down, because it's really hard to have a project that doesn't start with the top and a philosophy that's shared across the whole organization. And in that, you almost get permission to test and learn and to innovate and fail, because that's part of the process. What do you recall any major challenges that you've faced in this process of transformation?
Of course, plenty. Right? No innovation is without its challenges, and it's a roller coaster ride, as I say. But it's a thrill. The fun part is the creative problem solving of these challenges. And one of them that I could highlight is that because the technologies are fast-paced and they're changing fast, evolving fast, consumer needs are also changing fast and their behaviors are changing fast. There's a huge learning curve for people. For traditional marketers, it's about learning new terminology. It's about learning new tools. And it's not about the traditional waterfall marketing. It's about agile, personalized marketing. And I am fortunate to have teams, and my leadership team has been wonderful in investing the people time, their resources, and their own energy to become familiar with the language. And I'm proud to say that we are all now, after a year-long work, using the same language consistently that I'm hearing, and that gives me pride and joy. And practice makes it perfect, right? Because you have to have the digi-native language to enable this transformation. And this learning is not limited to the functional expertise or to a junior marketer or a digital marketing expert or an e-commerce expert. It has to be, to your point, embraced throughout the organization and from the senior leaders. So, and again, I would say Hershey as a team, we have had great leaders in those organizations who are investing their time personally to be abreast of the technologies and speak the language, and so that they can communicate the same to their team members as well. So learning curve, making sure that you have the same language is the key, and making sure that you're able to apply that. Having a great tool is one thing, but being able to apply it to your business is a whole different game. And it's not about, hey, I've got this fancy tool now, but now how do you make it applicable to your business and actually drive growth? And that is the trick. And there is a mindset shift. It's not the traditional marketing, it is an agile marketing. You need to be comfortable with that ambiguity of being able to learn. And it takes a few tries, but after a while, the team gets there.
It almost could serve as a catalyst to bringing together silos within an organization into the same world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. So every meeting right now is cross-functional. I call it in Hershey Digicom. It is not digital marketing. It's not e-commerce. It is digital comms. And the enabler is the IT and the supply chain in order to get financial results, where we need the finance team. So I have the brand marketer, who is the digital marketers, the sales team, particularly not only the e-commerce pure play, but also the omni-channel, the Walmarts of the world. We need the whole sales team bought in, and we need to have the right supply chain infrastructure to be able to deliver that. And also we need to have the right financial analysis. So it's bringing everybody together. You're absolutely right. And therefore, when I talk about language, everybody needs to embrace the language and have the same terminology. It's not just the digital marketer. To your point, each function needs to be abreast of it and be able to speak the language to enable digital transformation. Therefore, training is fundamentally key. And we have deployed digital training around the organization so that there is a foundational baseline digi-native skill set across the organization, irrespective of where you are. And wow, the digital experts will have their own, advanced training, but there's a baseline, whether it's a VP or general manager to an assistant manager, sales or supply chain, there's a baseline that everybody has to take into account.
I could be just speaking based on my experience, but it feels like Hershey's is leaps and bounds ahead in terms of, and honestly, I'm not saying this because I happen to be talking to you, but I've for long seen from the sidelines that Hershey's is innovating in a way that others aren't. And it's reflective of the fact that you're talking about supply chain, you're talking about sales and marketing all in the same conversation. Whereas it feels like other organizations are just starting to bridge those gaps between those organizations. And speaking of, every different function that you just named is using a different set of data that really matters to that org. From what you're saying, it matters to all of us. Like, we all need to know all of that data. How is data playing a role in the digital transformation at Hershey's?
Sure, very good point. And data is fundamental to the digital transformation. And it's a starting point, right? Because you leverage data to analyze and generate the analytics to make a decision. And technologies are an enabler. And that's the ecosystem, right? And people will often say, oh, I don't have the data for this, or it's challenging to get this data, or I can't make this decision because I don't have the data for this. And my answer to them is, data is everywhere. You have it in social media. You have the consumer segmentation in social media. You don't have to do a full-blown study and invest a lot of money to get the rich segmentation. It is happening live, as especially with the pandemic, we saw new consumer segments emerging. And there is data out there, there's real-time data out there in social media. And you could also get a lot of data from the social media posts, their behavior data. What is the media that they're consuming? How are they responding to it? Where are they shopping? There's location data that is available. And there's, of course, the traditional purchase data that you get. The ability to recognize that there is data everywhere is the first thing. Then being able to collect them and integrate them across the systems and embed them into the business process so that you can enable analysis and decision making. Because it's not, to your point, everybody needs to have the same set of data. And that's part of the digital transformation process, particularly in the internal. So you're taking the external data, bringing it internally, making it available to the cross-functional team. And that's where the leadership comes in as to how do you analyze the data with critical thinking. So asking the right questions, because data is one thing, being able to mine to information and intelligence is a whole different game. So taking the data, mining it, and making it useful so that we can make decisions and at the end of the day, enhance consumer experiences.
It seems like such an undertaking. It seems really, really challenging and worth it. I'm wondering, is there any data set that comes to mind that's outside of the realm of marketing in the traditional sense that is important to you? And maybe not, but I'm just thinking, it's so unique to me that you mentioned when we talked earlier how close you are to your sales counterpart. I thought that was like gold. I was like, of course, why wouldn't they be? But so often when I'm talking to marketers within CPG, they're not. So is there any data set that is atypical for marketers to use that you're thinking about? Maybe sales data or whatever may come to mind.
Yeah, so throughout my experiences in CPG companies, we have been holistic in our brand development. We have had I'm a proponent of commercial mindset as a marketer. And by that, I mean integrating consumer data with the shopper data, with the social media data, and the supply chain data, and the financial results. All of that bringing together. And that's a process that has been embedded in our organization as a daily business management. And with new sets of data is always coming up, and we encourage my teams to make sure that there is critical thinking, and that's the first step for any marketer. The first competency that we request my managers and junior managers to adopt is critical thinking. Start with a set of data. Doesn't matter what you have, what you don't have. It's about asking the right questions, leveraging the tools, data, and making implications with it. And partnerships are critical. You mentioned tied to the hip with my sales counterpart, and we have the same goals. We have aligned with it. We share our strategies, and we co-create our strategies. And we are together in our planning sessions. And that is tremendously useful to make sure that we are driving growth, because it's not just about the consumer, but it's also about the shopper. And the moment of the truth happens at the retailer, whether they are in the brick and mortar or whether it be online.
Yeah. How does AI play into all of this?
Oh, a big enabler. And AI is the buzzword. Sometimes people look at me, it's like, oh, what is AI? How do you use it? I mean, you're just putting a buzzword out there, but it is really useful. And we have embedded AI-based tools through the consumer journey. And when I think about discovery, we have leveraged artificial intelligence for social listening, for mining the plenty of social media posts and coming up with themes and insights in a real-time manner. So as I said earlier, you have to be real-time is success. So real-time consumer insight generation is one way of leveraging AI. Second is we have leveraged AI to intentionally look for insights. So because in traditional social media listening, it's the organic posts that are happening that you can mine. But in the context where focus groups and ethnographies are limited because of social distancing, we have leveraged AI-based tools to quantify qualitative video data and mine insights in a quick and cost-efficient manner. And next, we have also leveraged AI to engage with consumers to deliver personalized messaging based on the target consumer, and also identify new target consumers along the way that are highly profitable and also drive media efficiency. And the last bucket is also taking the same AI to drive a shopping experience by delivering those products that they are looking for real time, so that it's a frictionless shopping experience for them. So whether it be identifying insights, whether it be engaging with consumers, or whether it be driving conversion, we have leveraged AI throughout the journey.
Wow. And I'm thinking naturally now about targeting as well. And I know you are responsible for the entire planet outside of the United States, which is quite a scope. How does, not to get too tactical, but how does geotargeting play a role in your strategy or targeting in general?
Sure. Geotargeting is one element of our targeting process across markets. We are very precise with our consumer targeting. And we know the demographics, we know the attitudinal behavior, we have the contextual targeting, and we have the behavioral purchase data, as well as the geo, which is the geo. And particularly during the COVID pandemic, we have been able to deploy in countries like Canada, Mexico, and India. We deployed geotargeting. We identified those consumers who were most affected by the lockdowns. So those locations which had severe impact due to the COVID and had a high lockdown, we were able to target those consumers. And we saw an uptick in baking. Therefore, we targeted them with a user-generated campaign and provided recipes by the consumer target, whether they were advanced consumers or whether they were beginner bakers, whether they had kids, whether they were single, by convenience, by expertise, and also based on the ingredients that were available in their local store. So all of that, we were able to develop this campaign to target them. And as a result, we got user-generated content, tons and tons of recipes from the consumers themselves, which we were able to curate and regenerate. As a result, we had real authentic content that we were able to engage with consumers. We doubled our engagement, as well as we increased our media efficiency.
And that's the perfect example of art and science, because had you not transformed the organization to be so digitally savvy, set up to hear all this and market, you never could have executed that strategy. But if you didn't bring the art to the table of understanding the pandemic and the psychology, it also never would have happened. And what you said that just got me really excited, that I think is so unique, is the inventory that's available in local stores to be brought as an input, which really, again, I'm hammering this for sure, but it bridges the gap between you and other departments, which is, to me, just such a standout. Hershey's is a beast of an organization. It's huge, yet you're evidently and very clearly nimble. How do you strike that balance? How do you move quickly while, for lack of a better word, and this isn't about Hershey's, it's just the cliche in general, there could be red tape at an organization so large?
Yeah, so first of all, we as an organization have instilled a leadership behavior of taking action and decision making, right? So taking action is a key leadership behavior. So that is a fundamental philosophy that is embraced within the organization. And as part of my innovation and digital transformation efforts, I have been fortunate to institutionalize 3 techniques or best practices. One is to have small dedicated teams that are held accountable for delivering any initiative. More importantly, these teams need to be empowered to make decisions,
right?
To go with speed. And the smaller the team, the faster the decision making. Second is to adopt sprints. It's not the traditional waterfall marketing that takes 6 to 9 months to create a brief and a campaign and so on and so forth. Depending on the project, it's a short sprints, 1 to 3 weeks max, and have clear milestones and deliverables that allows the team to go with speed and deliver the results. And that way allows for faster learning curves, iterate quickly, and we are more efficient in our investment as well as in progressing or propelling the project forward. And third, as I mentioned before, having executive championship teams. So I have sponsors for each of my teams And sometimes I am the sponsor to make those decisions, to visibly prioritize the digital transformation, and to make sure that the team has the resources that are needed to resolve any of those bottlenecks that are coming up, and being available to make those decisions in a timely manner so that the teams can continue to move forward. So 3 factors: small teams, sprint processes, and executive championship.
I hope someone on my team is writing this down, because those were really good tips, and especially empowering people to make decisions rather than having to go up the chain, like already determining this person is a sponsor and run. That's awesome. I think it's amazing that we have 10 minutes left, in retail media as it relates to retail media networks is just coming up. Do you have any tips or tricks or best practices in general, not just with retail media networks, to work with retailers? How do you accomplish the most and maximize those relationships?
Yeah, I would definitely say that's very important to partner with retailers. That collaboration is key to success. And as I said earlier, I am tied to the hip with the sales counterpart. Cultivating relationships with our top retail customers is an integral part of the planning process. And we share our insights, we share our data, and we share our strategies, and we co-create our plans. And with this co-creation of the plans, we will get the support you need, whether it be a retailer media, whether it be merchandising, what that is. It is about co-creation of a joint business plan that works for the organization and for the retailer, wherever they are. And it's a win-win situation. Early partnership is the key goal, and having joint goals, joint business goals, and that are aligned across functions, not just for us at Hershey, but also for the retailer. So I have as I said, we go as a cross-functional team, visiting with the retailer teams, and together we co-create those plans.
Has that been an evolution, or has joint business planning always been, cross-functional?
So yeah, it has been there. Joint business planning has been cross-functional for a period of quite some time. I would say about 10 years since Colgate was there. It has been cross-functional. But I believe the evolution, there's always an evolution, to your point. And the evolution is in how we integrate e-commerce into the planning. So traditionally, it has been the brick and mortar buyers versus the e-commerce buyers, and integrating the data sets across those 2 channels was the challenge. Likewise, there's media, the traditional media versus the digital media, and then integrating the 2 is always a challenge. And also understanding what drives the attribution, right? Understanding the attribution rates and the drivers of growth is also challenging when you have multiple data sets. So the evolution now is we are bringing all of those parties together as well. So that cross-functional is we are integrating the e-commerce teams into our conversations, and the retailer media teams, to your point.
That's great. I know for sure there are future CMOs listening right now. And I'm wondering if you went back 10 years and gave yourself advice, maybe something you used to stress about and that was a waste of your time and energy, or just any advice you would give to the person who has ambitions to be you in 10 years.
Everyone is unique. What works for me will be different for you or for somebody else. And therefore, I would say, know your purpose. Know your purpose your unique contributions, what you bring to the table, and the rest will follow from there. Each one of us is unique in our style, our aspirations, our early experiences, cultures, and all of those things shape our values and our purpose. And let that purpose guide our journey to becoming a CEO, CMO. That is what will allow you to differentiate yourself while motivating you to get your goals.